Welcome to the Fountain of Vitality podcast. I'm your host, LaMont Leavitt. In a world overflowing with noise, confusion, and distraction, we're here to cut through the clutter and explore bold, unique paths to a longer, healthier, and more vibrant life. Through candid conversations with business leaders, wellness experts, industry pioneers, and innovators, we'll uncover insights to help you discover your own personalized, unique approach to thriving. Tune in, trust the compass of wisdom within, and find your fountain of vitality. What a year it's been. When I started Fountain of Vitality, I had one goal: to bring you conversations that mattered. Conversations about health, longevity, business, and what it really takes to live a life worth living. Over the past season, I've had the privilege of sitting down with 20 extraordinary people. Serial entrepreneurs who've risked everything, doctors redefining how we think about medicine, cancer survivors who turned tragedy into purpose, innovators using AI to detect disease before symptoms even appear, and other business leaders sharing tips to being successful and more. Each guest brought something different to the table, but they all shared one thing in common: a commitment to help others live healthier and more fulfilling lives. So today, I want to take a moment to look back, to revisit the insights, the breakthroughs, and the stories that made this season so special. Let's hear from the guests who made it all possible. And here's to looking forward to a great 2026 and all the future conversations we're going to be having as well.
I think that there's a false perception out there that every day a CEO has to keep everything in his life perfectly in balance. And I think that expectation is impossible. And I think it causes a lot of unnecessary stress. And I think it could actually hurt a CEO from doing some of the things that are really the most important.
Instead of me calling, for instance, the chairman of my board at 10 o'clock at night and say, I got this idea I want to run by you, I basically tell AI what role it's going to play and what genius it's going to be. And then I run those ideas past AI. And it's just a different answer altogether. And what you get is pretty significant. So, I mean, to me, that's it. It's like just looking at it as the smartest person with instant recall of the world's knowledge.
The darkest time taught me was, if that's your mindset when it works against you, what's your mindset when you get it working for you? And I had this powerful breakthrough, and that's what led me to ultimately write the book. I started sharing my story online all those years ago. A lot of people came forward and said, yeah, that's me too. You know, they didn't necessarily have a suspected heart attack, but they might have had something else they feared, something else they struggled with.
There is a natural sense of peace that exists within us. So that is the blue of the sky. That's just our natural state. And yes, thoughts will come and go like clouds across the sky. But trying to hold on to those thoughts, I mean, they're so ephemeral. If I asked you, what were you thinking this time 2 weeks ago, you couldn't tell me because it's been so long and so different in your mind. So we're just trying to get to know, what if I didn't buy so much into the clouds? What if I looked at the blue underneath?
People think that there's a good economy and a bad economy, and they label it as such, but there's actually no such thing as a good economy or a bad economy. They're only different economies, but different economies require different strategies. You can't operate under the same strategy in a quote unquote bad economy as you do with a good economy.
There's so much valuable information out there. You know, it's almost scary what you can actually utilize it for. So.
Yeah.
The fear of AI and spending money on something that you've not spent money on before is out there, and it's real, especially with founders or CFOs, CEOs, is ultimately just providing them a proposal and explaining to them what the possibilities can be at the 30, 60, 90-day mark.
When we're responding, we're in prison. When we start creating, we're free. And you see it happening, even though they're putting more time. When they're taking the shower, what are they doing? They're solving your business problems, because they're not your business problems. They're their issues that they care most about.
I was somebody I've always been avid with exercise, eating healthy, taking my supplements, practicing really healthy self-care, but I was falling apart. And you couldn't tell from the outside, but I was inside emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, I was broken. And these other forms of healing and these other therapeutic modalities really got me to rise above that darkness and really heal myself.
The eagle rises above the storm so it can see the danger, the interference, the challenges, and it navigates over and through the storm. So not only does it get through it faster, but it's able to see the dangers that it's encountering to be able to approach them differently to minimize the impact of them. So it has a more keen eyesight in order to be able to do that, and multiple of other things. But the sum of it was that in the revenue cycle system, really, we have the ability to take that approach like the eagle.
I have this metaphor I like to use when I'm teaching, and it's going through a midlife crisis, buying a sweet little red convertible, right? And then driving through a school zone. And, when you hit the school zone, they got the flashing yellow lights and the speed limit is 20, and it's normally 30 or something. There's 20 when the kids are walking to school. So you have to know what the speed limit is. You have to know it's 20. And if you're driving in a red convertible, you stand out. And if you want to go 35 miles an hour in a 20, you're going to get pulled over. That's where your risk is.
We're not detecting cancer. We're detecting a lung nodule. Objects just several millimeters aside with the potential to develop into cancer in a few years. Wow. And then we're really saving lives, not less than that. Today, the 5-year survival rates are only 16%. But if you detect it early enough, it dramatically jumps to 70, 80%.
Over 1 million people used Levemir just a few years ago. It's a real problem to not have this specific one available. We're not trying to force Novo Nordisk to change course or continue to make it. We want another manufacturer to be able to make it. This could happen with anything. This could happen to my pump manufacturer. If you're using a medication for something else, what do we do when a medication goes away?
Over about 6 to 7 weeks, she was considerably better, and returning, still traveling, but managing the schedule better, eating healthier, feeling better emotionally, and much more in balance. So, the gut microbiome takes a certain amount of time to heal, but it was very important in her journey.
Pandemics aren't new. This medicine has been around 3,000 years. So we have a big understanding of how to tackle these complicated scenarios that come through human beings. We've actually had enormous success with, and people come from all over the country to come to Helios Integrated Medicine here where I work.
Did you know that the body is electric? The body is known as we're an electromagnetic being. And that's how everything works. We're an alchemical, like there you eat food, digest food, it creates energy. We're an alchemical being too, but we're equally, if not more, of anything. We're 70% water. So what are we made out of most? I always ask people this. It's like a lot of people say, well, we're 70% water, so we're mostly water. Well, actually what we are from the electrical standpoint, we're 13 octrillion electrons big. So we're about 7 or 8 trillion cells, but we're more electrons than anything else. So we're more electric than anything else in this world. So when you understand this, and this is where our technology goes, I can give you a electronic blood test. And I can know, you don't even have to wait 2 weeks to get your results.
Right then.
Yeah, right there. You know exactly the issues at hand, at play within minutes.
He doesn't have as much time to spend with each of them as he would like. That's just the nature of things.
Yeah.
Thereafter, he wanted them to use his AI doppelganger to get a sense of how he might think and feel about big, important strategic decisions. Now, he instructed them, don't make big decisions just on that, but please confer with it.
Reference it. Yeah.
You want to reference it. And very explicitly, before you do meet with me, please work through the issues with it. And in the months since that happened, he has reported a much higher caliber of interactions with members of his C-suite.
I read some of these customer testimonials, like from the individual employees that have been using our platform, and it's just like, you literally saved me from suicide. Like being able to talk to this person turned my life around, or this saved our marriage, things like that. You're just like, wow, what I'm doing really matters.
My dad, who I has long since passed, I think very, very highly of. He over time had 7 heart attacks, and I spent a lot of time growing up in intensive care, by his side, and it really taught me a lot about, accepting what's been sent your way and making the best of it, because I never heard him complain a day in his life. And, he volunteered with things and was lower middle management of a steel mill. So we didn't have a lot of means, but
sure.
He really just taught me the value of glasses half full.
One of the things I learned about LaMont was that motivating people in life, in school, in business is not a lot different. If they're motivated, they'll do great things. And I had the gift that I could speak, use music, things I have done in the past, to motivate these people, and they would go out and break their necks to do great things.
At age 5, he ended up getting diagnosed on the autism spectrum. And when we first got the diagnosis, I was, devastated, but I was like, there's no way. I'm not going to take a diagnosis and he's not going to suffer. There's no way we're curing this. And now my son is 25 years old. He's studying to be a pilot and probably will be going into the Air Force. That's his goal anyway. And we don't live like that anymore. So yeah, life can be great.
20 guests, 20 different paths, but one shared mission, helping you take control of your health, your business, and your life. I want to thank every single guest who joined me this season. Thank you for your honesty, your expertise, and your willingness to share what you've learned along the way. And to you, our listeners and viewers, thank you. Thank you for tuning in, for sharing these episodes with friends and family, and for being part of this community. None of this happens without you. Now, season 2 is on the horizon. In 2026, we've got more incredible guests and conversations coming your way. If there's a topic you want us to explore or someone you'd love to hear from, reach out and let us know. Until then, keep investing in your health, keep asking the hard questions, and remember, vitality isn't just about adding years to your life, it's about adding life to your years. I'm LaMont Leavitt. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you in season 2. Thank you for tuning in to the Fountain of Vitality podcast. Head to fountainofvitality.com for more episodes, insights, and resources. Remember, your health is yours to own. Take charge, focus on what you can control, and keep exploring what works for you. Always be your best self, lift others, and trust the compass of wisdom. Until next time, stay vibrant and take care.